Krishna Padan Saganadita Shri Vitamsha Sharakaya Chaksharunglitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. First of all, offer my millions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmati Guru Pad Padma, Vitala Prishta Jagat Guru Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, and also offer obeisances lotus feet of Dandi Sannyasi, Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj, Namnishta Sant Shri Aniruddha Das Prabhuji. All the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, please accept my humble obeisances. So we are discussing Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we are going to discuss 2.86, right? Adi Lila, second chapter, 86 verse. Right. Brahma Pramada Vipralipsa Karana Patava Arsha Vigya Vakyena Hi Doshai Sava. Brahma. Brahma means mistakes. Pramad means illusion. Vipralipsa means cheating. Karana Apatava, imperfections of the senses. Arsha, of the authoritative sages. Vigya Vakya, in the wise speech. Nahi, not. Dosha, false. A, these sub all. Mistakes, illusions, cheating, and defective perception do not occur in the sayings of the authoritative sages. Arsha. Arsha means actually this one type of praman. Arsha praman. Whatever the um, sages have said, that is called Arsha. Arsha praman. So these defects are not there in the words of the great sages. Srimad Bhagavatam has listed the avatars, the plenary expansions of the Purushas, and Lord Krishna appears among them. But the Bhagavatam further explains Lord Krishna's specific position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, reason and argument establish that his position is always supreme. Had Krishna been a plenary expansion of Narayan, the original verse would have been differently composed. Indeed, its order would have been reversed. But there cannot be mistakes, illusion, cheating, or imperfect perception in the words of liberated sages. Therefore, there is no mistake in the statement that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Sanskrit statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are all transcendental sounds. Srila Vyasdev reveals these statements after perfect realization, and therefore they are perfect. For liberated sages like Vyasadeva never commit errors in their rhetorical arrangements. Unless one accepts this fact, there is no use in trying to obtain help from the revealed scriptures. Brahma refers to false knowledge or mistakes, such as accepting a rope as a snake or an oyster shell as gold. Pramad refers to inattention or misunderstanding of reality. Vipralipsa is the cheating propensity. Karana Patav refers to imperfection of the material senses. There are many examples of such imperfection. The eyes cannot see that which is very distant or very small. One cannot even see his own eyelid, which is the closest thing to his eye. If one is disturbed by a disease like jaundice, he sees everything to be yellow. Similarly, the ears cannot hear distant sounds. Since the personality of Godhead and his plenary portions and self-realized devotees are all transcendently situated, they cannot be misled by such deficiencies. Now, text 87. विरुद्धार्थ कह तुम्ही कहिते करोष तुम्हारा अर्थ अविस्मृत तुम्हारा अर्थ अविमृष्ट विधेयांश दोष विरुद्ध अर्थ contrary meaning कह say तुम्ही you कहिते pointing out कर to you do rosha anger tomara your arthe in the meaning avismrushta vidheyamsha of the unconsidered predicate portion dosha the fault. You say something contradictory and become angry when this is pointed out. Your explanation has the defect of a misplaced predicate. This is an unconsidered adjustment. चांद्र भगवत्ता हैते अन्यर भगवत्ता स्वयं भगवान शब्देर्ता ते सत्ता. Chandra of full Bhagavatta, the quality of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Haite from Anir of others, Bhagavatta, the quality of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swam Bhagavan Shabder, of the word Swam Bhagavan, Tahati, that in that Satta, the presence. Only the personality of Godhead, the source of all the divinities, is eligible to be designated Swam Bhagavan or the primeval Lord. So means Krishna is Swam Bhagavan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Swayam Bhagavan. Understand? Ete chamsha kala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yugi Yugi. Swayam Bhagavan. So, Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna is supremely merciful. Shri Gaurasundar, non different from Shri Krishna, is also supremely merciful. Understand? Shri Nityananda Prabhu is the deity of mercy personified, and Shriman Mahaprabhu's associates, the six Goswamis, are also causelessly merciful. Understands. Param Gurudev is telling this. These things I heard without doubt. I was present in one form or another during their time, but no one bestowed mercy upon me because they knew me to be extremely heinous and sinful. Srila Prabhupada pulled me up by my hair. I am such a fallen wretch, such a great materialist with an uncontrolled nature that he has made me a dust particle at his lotus feet. He who, due to his causeless mercy, is even more exalted than the Lord Himself, exalted than the Lord Himself, has today made me His own. In his speech, Paramaradhya Sri Gurudev described his own family by referring to his relationship with Jagat Pita Sri Krishna, Sri Sajanan Gaurari, the Akhanda Guru Tattva Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is non-different from Baldev Prabhu, and their dearest associate. Jagat Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, nevertheless, did he mention his material family lineage? So you'll see that Krishna is very merciful, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very merciful, but our Gurudev saved us. So we should always be grateful to Gurudev. So here, Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. Ete chamsha kala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. This should be very, very clear that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually, Param Gurudev also tells. Thus, according to Vedic Shastras, there are two Sanatan Tattvas, eternal principles. One is Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna, the undivided, complete Sanatan Tattva, and the other is Jiva, the divided Anu Sanatan Tattva. Understand? So, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj is telling that Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan, primeval Lord. दीप है ते जैसे बहुत दीपेर ज्वलन मूलय का दीपता करिए गणन. Deep, a lamp, haite from Jaiche, just as Bahu, many, Deeper of lamps, Jwalana, lighting, Mula of the original, Eka one, deep lamp, Tatha, that Kariye, I make Ganana consideration. When from one candle, when from one candle many others are lit, I consider that one the original. The Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 46 states that the Vishnu Tattva, or the principle of the absolute personality of Godhead, is like a lamp because the expansions equal to their origin in all respects. A burning lamp can light innumerable other lamps. Although they will not be inferior, still the lamp from which the others are lit must be considered the original. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands Himself in the plenary forms of the Vishnu Tattva, and although they are equally powerful, um, the original personality of Godhead is considered the source. This example also explains the appearance of qualitative incarnations like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Shambhostu Tamo Adhishthanatvat Kajjalamaya Sukshma Deepashikha Sthaniyasya Na Tatha Samyam. The Shambhu Tattva, or the Principle of Lord Shiva is like a lamp covered with carbon because of his being in charge of the mode of ignorance. The illumination from such a lamp is very minute. Therefore, the power of Lord Shiva cannot compare to that of the Vishnu principles. Text 19. तैछे सब अवतारेर कृष्ण से कारण आरे श्लोक सुना कुव्याख्या खंडन तैछे. In a similar way, sub all avatarer of the incarnations, Krishna, Lord Krishna, say, hey, he, Karana, the cause, are another Eka one shloka verse, Shuna, please hear, Kuvekha, fallacious explanations, Khandana, refuting. Krishna, in the same way, is the cause of all causes and all incarnations. Please hear another verse to defeat all misinterpretations. अत्तसर्गो विसर्गस्य स्थानं पोषणम् उताया मन्वन्तरे मन्वन्तरेशानुकथा निरोधो मुक्तिराश्रया दशमस्य विशुद्धार्थं नवानाम् इह लक्षणं वर्णयन्ति महात्माना श्रुतेनार्थेन चाञ्जसा. Atra in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sarga, the creation of the ingredients of the universe. Visarga, the creations of Brahma. Cha and Sthanam, the maintenance of creations. Portion of the favoring of the Lord's devotees. Uttaya, the impetuses for activity. Manu Antar, prescribed duties given by the Manus. Isha Anugraha, a description of the incarnations of the Lord. Nirodha, the winding up of the creations. Nirodha, the winding of the creations. Mukti, liberation. Ashraya, the ultimate shelter. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dashamasya, of the 10th Ashraya. Vishuddhartham, for the purpose of perfect knowledge. Navanam, of the 9. Iha, here. Lakshanam, the nature. Varnayanti, describe. Mahatmanaha, Mahatmana, the great souls. Shrutena, by prayer. Arthena, by explanations. Sure and Anjasa, direct. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10 subjects are described. The creation of the ingredients of the cosmos, the creation of Brahma, the maintenance of the creation, special favor given to the faithful, impetuses for activity, prescribed duties for law-abiding men, a description of the incarnation of the Lord, the winding up of the creation, 9, liberation from gross and subtle material existence, and the ultimate shelter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The 10th item is the shelter of all the others. To distinguish this ultimate shelter from the other 9 subjects, the Mahajans have described these 9 directly or indirectly through prayers or direct explanations. These verses from Srimad Bhagavatam list the 10 subject matters dealt with in the text of the Bhagavatam. Of these, the 10th is the substance, and the other 9 are categories derived from the substance. These 10 subjects are as follows. Sarga, the first creation by Vishnu. The bringing forth of the 5 gross elements, the 5 objects of sense perception, the 10 senses, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego, and the total material energy or universal form. Visarga, the secondary creation or the work of Brahma in producing the moving and non-moving, moving and unmoving bodies in the universe, Brahmanda. Sthana, number 3, Sthana, the maintenance of the universe by the personality of God and Vishnu. Vishnu's function is more important and his glory greater than Brahma's and Lord Shiva's. For although Brahma is the creator and Lord Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. Poshana, the special care and protection for devotees by the Lord. As a king maintains his kingdom and subjects, but nevertheless gives special attention to the members of his family, so the personality of Godhead gives special care to his devotees who are souls completely surrendered to him. Uti, the urge for creation or initiative power. That is the cause of all inventions according to the necessities of time, space, and objects. Manvantar, Manvantar Avatar, Manvantar, The periods controlled by the Manus who teach regulative principles for living beings who desire to achieve perfection in human life. The rules of Manu, as described in the Manu Samhita, guide the way to such perfection. Ishanukatha, scriptural information regarding the personality of Godhead, his incarnations on earth, and the activities of his devotees. Scriptures dealing with these subjects are essential for progressive human life. Nirodha, the winding up of all energies employed in creation. Such potencies are emanations from the personality of Godhead who eternally lies in the Karana ocean. The cosmic creations manifested with his breath are again dissolved in due course. Mukti, liberation of the conditioned souls encased by the gross and subtle coverings of body and mind. When freed from all material affection, the soul giving up the gross and subtle material bodies can attain the spiritual sky in his original spiritual body and engage in transcendental loving service to the Lord in Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka. When the soul is situated in his original constitutional position of existence, he is said to be liberated. It is possible to engage in transcendental loving service to Lord and become a Jiva Mukta, a liberated soul, even while in a material body. Ashraya, the transcendence, the summum bonum, from whom everything emanates, upon whom everything rests, and in whom everything merges after annihilation. He is the source and support of all. Ashraya is also called the Supreme Brahman, and in the Vedanta Sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, Janmadasya Yata, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Srimad Bhagavatam especially describes this Supreme Brahman as the Ashraya. Shri Krishna is this Ashraya, and therefore the greatest necessity of life is to study the science of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam accepts Sri Krishna as the shelter of all manifestations, because Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate source of everything, the supreme goal of all. Two different principles are to be considered herein, namely Ashraya, the object providing shelter, and Ashrita, the dependent requiring shelter. The Ashrita exists under the original principle, the Ashraya. The first 9 categories described in the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, from creation to liberation, including the Purusha avatars, the incarnations, the marginal energy or living entities, and the eternal and the external energy or material world, are all Ashrita. The prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam, however, aim for Ashraya Tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The great souls expert in describing Srimad Bhagavatam have very diligently delineated the other 9 categories, sometimes by direct narrations and sometimes by indirect narrations, such as stories. The real purpose of doing this is to know perfectly the absolute transcendence Sri Krishna for the entire creation, both material and spiritual, rest on the body of Sri Krishna. आश्रय जानिते कही ए नव पदार्थ ए नवेर उत्पत्ति हेतु सही आश्रयार्थ. Ashraya, the ultimate shelter. Janite, to know. Kahi, I discuss. A, these. Nava, 9. Padartha, categories. E, these. Navera, of the 9. Utpatti, of the origin. Hetu, cause. Say, that. Ashraya, of the shelter. Artha, the meaning. Translation. To know distinctly the ultimate shelter of everything that be, I described the other 9 categories. The cause for the appearance of these 9 is rightly called their shelter. Text 94. Krishna eka sarvashraya, Krishna sarvadham, Krishnera sharire sarva, Vishwera vishram. Krishna, Lord Krishna, eka, one, sarvashraya, shelter of all. Krishna, Lord Krishna, sarvadham, the abode of all. Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, sharire, in the body, sarva vishwera, of all the universes. Vishram, resting place. The translation. The personality of God is Shri Krishna is the shelter and abode of everything. All the universes rest in his body. Dashame dashamam laksham ashritashraya vigraham Shri Krishna khyam param dhama jagat dhama namamitat. Dashame, in the 10th canto, Dashamam, the tenth subject matter, Laksham, to be seen, Ashrita, of the sheltered, Ashraya, of the shelter. Vigraham, who is the form, Shri Krishna Akhyam, known as Lord Shri Krishna, Param, supreme, Dhama, abode, Jagat Dhama, the abode of the universes, Namami, for obeisances, Tat to him. The 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam reveals the 10th subject, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of all surrendered souls. He is known as Sri Krishna and is the ultimate source of all the universes. Let me offer my obeisances unto him. Purport. This quotation comes from Srila Swami's commentary on the first verse of the 10th canto, canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So basically, Krishna is the Ashray, Ashray and Ashrit. So we are all Ashrit, we are all Ashrit, and Krishna is our Ashray. So we are all Das of Krishna, understand? We are all servants of Krishna, and we depend on his shoulder, on his shelter. Krishna Swarupara Shakti Trahe Chandra Hare Tandra Nahi Krishna Te Agyan. Krishna of Lord Krishna, Swarupa, the real nature, are Shaktitraya of the three energies, Jnana, knowledge, Chandra, whose there is Tandra of him, Nahi, there is not, Krishnate in Lord Krishna, Agyan, ignorance. One who knows the real feature of Sri Krishna and his three different energies cannot remain ignorant about him. Srila Jiva Goswami states in his Bhagavad Sandarbha that by his potencies which act in natural sequences beyond the scope of the speculative human mind, the supreme transcendence, the summum bonum, eternally and simultaneously exists in four transcendental features: his personality, his impersonal effulgence, particles of his potency, the living beings, and the principle of all causes. The supreme whole is compared to the sun, which also exists in four features, namely the personality of the sun god, the glare of his glowing spear, the sun rays inside the sun planet, and the sun's reflections in many other objects. The ambition to corroborate the existence of the transcendental absolute truth by limited conjectural endeavors cannot be fulfilled, because he is beyond the scope of our limited speculative minds. In an honest search for truth, we must admit that his powers are inconceivable to our tiny brains. The exploration of space has demanded the work of the greatest scientists of the world, yet there are countless problems regarding even fundamental knowledge of the material creation that bewilder scientists who confront them. Such material knowledge is far removed from the spiritual nature, and therefore the acts and arrangements of the absolute truth are beyond all doubts inconceivable. The primary potencies of the absolute truth are mentioned to be three: internal, external, and marginal. By the acts of his internal potency, the personality of Godhead in his original form exhibits the spiritual cosmic manifestations known as the Vaikuntha Lokas, which exist eternally even after the destruction of the material cosmic manifestation. By his marginal potency, the Lord expands himself as living beings who are part of him, just as the sun distributes its rays in all directions. By his external potency, the Lord manifests the material creation, just as the sun, with its rays, creates fog. The material creation is thus the material creation is but a perverse reflection of the eternal Vaikuntha nature. These three energies of the absolute truth are also described in the Vishnu Purana, where it is said that the living being is equal in quality to the internal potency, whereas the external potency is indirectly controlled by the chief cause of all causes. Maya, the illusory energy, misleads a living being as fog misleads a pedestrian by blocking off the light of the sun. Although the potency of Maya is inferior in quality to the marginal potency, which consists of the living beings who are part and parcel of the Lord, it nevertheless has the power to control the living beings, just as fog can block the actions of a certain portion of the sun's rays, although it cannot cover the sun. The living beings covered by the illusory energy evolve in different species of life, with bodies ranging from that of an insignificant ant to that of Brahma, the constructor of the cosmos. The Pradhan, the chief cause of all causes in the impersonal vision, is none other than the Supreme Lord, whom one can see face to face in the internal potency. He takes the material all pervasive form by his inconceivable power. Although all three potencies, namely internal, external, and marginal, are essentially one in the ultimate issue, they are different in action, like the electric energy, which can produce both cold and heat under different conditions. The external and marginal potencies are called under various conditions, but in the original internal potency, there are no such conditions. Nor is it possible for the conditions of the external potency to exist in the marginal or vice versa. One who is able to understand the intricacies of all the energies of the Supreme Lord can no longer remain an empiric impersonalist under the influence of a poor fund of knowledge. कृष्णेर स्वरूपेण हय षड्धर्म विलास प्राभवैभव रूपे द्विविध प्रकाश. Krishna of Lord Krishna, Swarupera of the form, Haya, there are Shatvidha, six kinds, Vilas, pastime forms. Prabhava Vaibhava Rupe, in the division of Prarabdha, of Prabhava and Vaibhava. Dvividha, two kinds, Prakash, manifestations. The personality of Godhead Krishna enjoys himself in six primary expansions. His two manifestations are Prabhava and Vaibhava. Now the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita turns to describe the personality of Godhead Krishna in his innumerable expansions. Lord primarily expands himself in two categories, namely Prabhu and Vaibhava. The Prabhu forms are fully potent like Shri Krishna, and the Vaibhava forms are partially potent. The Prabhu forms are manifested in relation with potencies, but the Vaibhava forms are manifested in relationship with excellences. The potent Prabhu manifestations are also of two varieties, temporary and eternal. The Mohini, Hamsa, and Shukla forms are manifested only temporarily in terms of a particular age. Among the other Prabhavas who are not very famous, according to the material estimations, are Dhanvantari, Rishabh, Vyasa, Dattatreya, and Kapila. Among the Vaibhav Prakash forms are Kurma, Matsya, नरनारायण वराह हयग्रीव कृष्णिगर्भ बलदेव यज्ञ विभु सत्यसेन हरि वैकुंठ अचित वामन सार्वभौम ऋषभ विश्वक्सेन धर्म सेतु सुधामा योगेश्वर एंड बृहद्भानु. अंश शक्त्यावेश रूपे द्विविधावतार बाल्य पौगंड धर्म द्वैत प्रकार. Amsha of the plenary expansion, Shakti Aveshya of the empowered Rupe in the forms, Divida, two kinds. Avatara, incarnations, Balya, childhood, Pauganda, boyhood, Dharma, the characteristics of age, Dvitu, the certainly Prakara kinds. His incarnations are of two kinds, namely partial and empowered. He empowers in two ages, childhood and boyhood. The Vilas forms are six in number. Incarnations are two varieties. Incarnations are of two varieties, namely Shaktavisha avatar, empowered, and Amshavesha, partial. These incarnations also come within the category of Prabhav and Vaibhav manifestations. Childhood and boyhood are two special features of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, but his permanent feature is his eternal form as an adolescent youth. The original personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is always worshipped in this eternal adolescent form. Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam. So we'll stop here. Text 2.99. Next class will continue next Friday. 2.99. It's a very interesting discussion actually. And we must pay attention to this. So thank you so much. If anyone has any comments or questions, please ask me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for that. I
Hare
don't think
Krishna.
there's any questions. So, Ananga Mohan Prabhu, can you please do Jai Divani? Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
श्री श्री गुरु गौरंग गंधर्विक गिरिधारी राधा विनोद बिहारी